Hi there everyone, Rob here with today's Western Pacific weather update. You are currently looking at some footage coming out of the Philippines. This is some people en route to Conor Island. This is not a situation you want to catch yourself in. Signal forces have been posted across much of the Philippines due to severe tropical storm now Saola or Genner, which is pushing off towards the north and definitely very dangerous here. Let's look at the satellite picture though and see where this is. Well, you have our tropical storm right here, the one that this footage just came out of, and also off towards the north, another one right here just towards the east of the Osagara Islands, pushing off now towards the west, likely going to be affecting around Iwoto within the next several days. We're going to talk about this one here in a moment, and also this one. I know we haven't really touched too much on this one, but it might actually become a typhoon, and likely, very likely, that Saola will also become a typhoon as it pushes off there towards the north. It has to gain a little bit of organization, though, because at this time, it is still fairly disorganized. If we zoom in on and take a look at the infrared water vapor differential, you can see that there is a big gap right in here. It's because mainly there's kind of a circulation down here towards the south, another one up here, and it's all rotating around a general large circulation. Thus, this has been kind of coined a monsoonal gyre. We've seen this in the past. It happens often out here in the Western Pacific. You just get these large storms with an incredible amount of moisture. If we take a look at the water vapor, that kind of gives you an example of how much moisture is really here. And all of it just starts rotating around a center of circulation, and then it brings heavy rainfall. Look at some of these totals over the past 24 hours, adding up to around 100 millimeters in many areas here. This one, where that video just came out of, up to 99 millimeters in the past 24 hours. And we look a little bit farther there towards the east, 81 millimeters here, and also off towards Manila, Subic Bay, 73 millimeters, and then near Tanay, about 98. So all of these are creating flooding conditions. Some roads have already been blocked here according to the NDRMMC. And also last week the enhancement of the monsoon caused 2 deaths. So it's a very dangerous situation with the flooding, but also landslides very well could continue to occur. And we've already seen some reports of landslides damaging many people's houses out here. So going to be continuing to watch this through the coming days. Let's see where it's going to be going next though. As it pulls off here towards the north, you have that center of circulation right here just towards the east of the Philippines now, initializing fairly well, but now it looks like it's going to be tracking towards Taiwan. One thing about this model, though, it is picking up on an interaction with Demrey over here. That's that other storm we're talking about, and actually keeps it rather disorganized, but the Japan Meteorological Agency is forecasting this to become a typhoon once it overcomes some of the dry air which it is currently battling across this area, and also it's going to start to move in some warmer sea surface temperatures. But as far as Saola, moving off there towards the north, I do believe Taiwan is going to be affected by the storm this coming week. Going into the first, then into the second, making landfall here as it continues to track off there towards the north. Taipei, you're definitely going to have to be watching this. And also some of these southern Japanese islands, you're also going to be feeling the wrath of the storm as it continues to head in your direction, as the right front quadrant would likely be here. But also even around Taipei, that right front quadrant, and also the flooding scenario. You have to remember mountains are across much of central Taiwan here. If you're in Taiwan, you obviously know this, but outside, for any foreigners, a very high mountain chain right in there, and once you get landfalling storms, it builds up and it causes flash flooding scenarios all across this area. Now this is the Joint Typhoon Warning Center's outlook on the storm. Let's take a look at JMA, and this is why I like to compare agencies, because one might say one and the other ones might say a different thing, and JMA is actually expecting an influence from that storm off there towards the east, pulling it a little bit farther towards the east, just like that COMAMS model was showing there a second ago, and keeping it offshore from Taiwan as it continues to push out there, becoming a typhoon still within the next about 48 hours, but affecting the southern Japanese islands even more so. And let's take another look at Taiwan's outlook on this, because it's really important here for everybody living in Taiwan, as they kind of go right into the middle of what Japan Meteorological Agency and the Joint Typhoon Warning Center are saying here, making landfall there right around Taipei, just north of where the JTWC was, but JMA also pulled it up there. So with that said, I really do like their cone of air, though. You can see it extends off there towards the north and extends through the Luzon Strait as well. I think that is a very likely scenario that it could be going either of these ways. You have the interaction with this storm that could draw it in it, or that high pressure which is located right here. I know I have a lot drawing on here. High pressure located right in here. If that strengthens, it could push it farther off towards the west. So a lot going on with this storm. I do believe that anybody across the southern Japanese islands over towards Taiwan, and obviously here in the Philippines, you still want to be watching this because of that monsoonal flow. You likely will not be seeing landfall, but see the expanse of this storm and these thunderstorms continuing to flare up. Even if you are not seeing that center of circulation, you are still going to be seeing some very devastating and serious flooding across much of the Philippines. So definitely want to be continuing to watch Pegasus warnings on here. I know that signal forces have been issued across much of this region here, upwards of Signal Force 1 and Signal Force 2. So and I do believe that actually a lot of classes should be closed on Monday as well. So if you are going to school out here as well, you want to continue to check back in with that. And even business is a very slow go as far as travel. If you are flying in and out of Manila, it's going to be a very serious situation. But that's on this storm. Let's take a look at Damrey real quick, because this is expected to become a typhoon, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency, on the 1st going into the 2nd. What the problem lies here, it's going to be heading towards the southern Japanese islands as well, possibly affecting Kyushu, where you had those absolutely devastating floods about 2 weeks ago. So if the storm does take a track very much like this and then heads off, likely going around Kagoshima Prefecture, that would put this area in the right front quadrant. That would be very devastating. Remember, we have these mountains going through this area, so any inflow coming in would rush right up those mountains, squeeze all that moisture out like a sponge, and that's what you result in that devastating floods. And also remember, volcanic ash is a very large factor across much of this area, thus resulting in loose ground, and then you have high landslide risk, as we have seen in these previous floods. So we're going to be watching this one very closely here. Now, it does have a few things it needs to overcome. For starters, the dry air slot that's working its way in from the north here. You see that big area in blue once it loops back around. It has lots of dry air coming around it, but on the flip side, it's pulling in moisture from the south, so that is allowing this to feed into this storm. And then you have this one here, which very well could steal some energy from this if it gets close enough and it starts doing a Fujiwara type effect. I do think that they're too far away to really see that type of effect, but if it does occur, you're going to be seeing that interaction, and I think the bigger one would feed off of the little one per se, and that's not the technical term, but that's kind of what starts to happen here. The big one usually takes the energy from the smaller storm. And also at this time, it does look like the storm is fairly disorganized. It has lots of wind shear down towards the south. That's why you see all these cloud tops kind of blowing off there towards the north. Remember, the jet stream is all the way off here, so you're going to be seeing this effect really continue on this storm. And personally, I don't think that it's going to organize into something significant, but if it does overcome these factors, very well could continue to get its act together. Let's take a look what the Joint Typhoon Warning Center is currently saying on this. And they're kind of leaning more towards what I just said, staying weak due to all these factors, especially dry air and cooler sea surface temperatures, only maxing out at about 45 knots as it continues to rush off here towards the west. Similar track, though, as far as its motion, but even if it stays weak, though, once again, this would also pump all that moisture on shore here, and I think that would be the main factor anyways, is the heavy rainfall. Even if it does strengthen up to a typhoon status, the main factor is still going to be the heavy rainfall coming on shore. So definitely a storm we need to continue to watch here within the coming days, and also still watching, of course, Saola down there towards the south. And lastly, I do want to say, I know out here in Japan, summer festivals continue to occur across much of the country, but it is hot. Temperatures going all the way up to the mid-30s. Don't expect a cool down at all in the near future as well. So definitely do stay hydrated across much of the country here. That's very big news as far as Japan. I know a lot of people had to be hospitalized. In the last several days alone in Tokyo, over 1,000 people had to be hospitalized. So very big and developing story there as well. But that is all for right now, everybody. Thanks again for watching here at westernpacificweather.com. Also, once again, here's the annotation for that video at the beginning of the Tubecast here. You definitely want to go check that out. And if you want to follow me on Facebook and Twitter at Robert Speta, or you can follow the website at Western Pacific Weather. So thanks again for watching. Please stay safe out there. Have a great day. Bye.